I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending February the 21st, where all weights and classes of feeder cattle and calves sold $1 to $5 higher. Trading was active in most all your major marketing areas. Your full advance on the market was on those middleweight steers mostly, but all your middleweight cattle weighing 500 to 800 pounds, you're seeing a lot more demand for those and competition from grass interests as we're getting to the time of year where your stocker buying is really getting aggressive. And we start saying stockers, you know, we've got slaughter cattle, those that are ready to be slaughtered, feeder cattle, those that are ready to be fed, and stocker cattle, those that are ready to be turned out. You're going to stock a pasture with those cattle. And when we really start talking about stockers a lot more this time of year, but it's just not lightweight cattle and it's not calves. It's cattle that are in a condition to really turn it on whenever they get turned out on grass, some kind of a roughage. But you know, even your lighter calves, not all those cattle are really suitable to be turned out. They're not stocker calves. If they've been heavily supplementally fed, if they're unweaned and been fed creep or backgrounded too heavily in a lot, they're not really going to perform whenever you turn them out. But these cattle that have been dry wintered, your hard cattle, froze out cattle, been getting by on stockpiled old grass or getting by on old hay or something, just cattle that are thinner fleshed and really ready to turn on whenever that grass turns green, and they want to get that early gain on grass. And that early quick gain that they get is called compensatory gain. And that's what these backgrounders and stocker outfits are really looking to get. And the buyers see those kind of cattle that have that compensatory gain to them, and they're going to really turn aggressive. This week on some of those types of cattle at OKC West, El Reno Livestock Market there in Oklahoma, we saw a package of thin steer calves weighing 350 pounds bring 278 to St. Joe Stockyards in St. Joe, Missouri. A half load of cattle off the Bell Farm near Warrensburg. They were fancy, on the thinner side, but gant. These cattle were empty with a good weighing condition. Those steers weighed 550 pounds. A half a load of them bring 232 1/4. And up in Bassett, Nebraska, had one of those big Nebraska loads of cattle of fancy steers weighing 620, bring 210. But you're seeing big prices for those cattle, and it'll be primarily over the next 6-8 weeks on those cattle that are in a stocker condition. Cattle on feed report come out this Friday. Your inventory as of February the 1st showed your actual inventory on feed at 97.2. The average gas was 96, so they had more cattle on feed. The main reason is because the analysts missed the placement so far. They have such a hard time finding the placement of cattle going on feed, and this time we had a huge range of guesses from those main analysts that predict that, running from 95 to 107. Guys, look at your national feeder cattle summary. So far for this year, your year-to-date nationwide auction receipts are up 9%. Okay, guess what? The actual placement total come out 108.6% of cattle placed on feed during the month of January primarily. And the average guess was 102.8. Your marketings are 94.5 compared to the average guess of 95.2, so a little bit of a bullish signal there. But that's normally that would be a real bearish placement figure right there, because they missed that so far from what we kind of had expectations to be. But in all actuality, if these guys at night need to buy cattle to turn out on grass, see that we've already sold 9% more of our calf crop or of our early year sales than what we normally do, they could become even more aggressive for cattle, because we all know how tight the numbers are. So that could be twofold right there. You need to look at that. But next week, normally you would think that your feeder cattle markets are going to be lower due to that bearish number there. And the ones going on feed probably will. It probably will get pressure on those cattle weighing over 7.5, those fleshier cattle, the cattle weighing in the 8s and up. Probably going to see some pressure on those. But for your true stocker cattle, which could weigh up in the 7s pretty deep, probably not going to pull back on those at all. Fat cattle market this week, after 2 weeks of hardly any fat cattle sales on a negotiated basis, finally short bought packers had to come to their milk. Down in the southern feedlots, they give $145. That's $3 more than last week, which was a light test at $142. And in the northern lots, it's been really tight up there. Hardly any sales the last 2 weeks. This week, 5 to 6 higher on a dress basis from 230 to 231. And we even saw some late sales on Friday afternoon, 147.5 to 148, which would be just as much higher on a live basis. Regional weighted averages this week in the north central states: 7 to 8 weight steer cost you $174.94 compared to $173.47 last week and $141.25 a year ago. Down in the south central states, the 7 weight steer cost you $168.93 compared to $168.24 last week and $138.80 a year ago. Down in the southeast, a 5 weight steer cost you $189.33 this week compared to $185.04 last week and $154.33 a year ago. That wraps up your feeder and stocker cattle market summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. From the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.